everybody. Welcome into the Dane Wayne Show.
Good evening. Episode number 6, Wayne. How
Number
are
6.
you? How are we feeling this evening? How are we
Feeling good. Feeling good.
Nice.
Big win, obviously, on Sunday.
Big win from the Birds.
Yeah.
Taking care of going down to New Orleans and handling their business.
You said it. You said it was going to happen.
I mean, I didn't waver on it. I don't think I wavered on it even a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I said they were gonna win, and I was confident they were gonna win. It just, to me, I said the defense needs to show up, and they need to not turn the ball over. Which, how do you?
I mean, the defense definitely showed up.
Okay,
But they were shooting themselves in the foot quite a bit with the turnovers, the punt block. I mean, you had almost everything happen that could have happened.
Was it coaching? Was it the players? Was it was it a combination platter?
On the defensive side?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, Fangio came with a fantastic game plan for Carr and for Kamara. They stopped the run.
They were
if
getting.
you noticed, Bryce Huff played like the first snap of the game and
Yeah.
then barely played the rest of the game.
How many tackles does Bryce Huff have this season?
I still think he has maybe a
0.
He doesn't have a solo tackle.
He has an assist.
He has an assist tackle. He doesn't have any pressures.
Is that what a $50 million linebacker costs in the NFL?
Yeah, I don't really want to pile on too much.
No, you're right.
We're here to celebrate the
you're
the
absolutely
defense.
correct. Let me stop.
But what we talked about last week with the 5-down front, they instituted that this week, and
Carter,
they had a great
Davis,
Yeah, they
Bond.
Zach Bond was the key.
Okay.
So what Fangio did was he pulled him down to the line of scrimmage as if he was the fifth guy on the end.
Yeah.
And because of his versatility, because he's played as an edge before,
Right.
He was able to either stop the run, or if it became a pass play, he could back out and still take the coverage.
Absolutely.
So that really was the key. And also playing Brandon Graham. He played like 35 snaps.
I know. Graham's been putting in a lot of work. But it's showing. And we were so down on the defense the previous week because of the drive that they gave up against the Falcons.
Right.
You were like, I want them to get a stop. I think the defense should be able to get a stop.
Yeah.
Blankenship played well.
Yep.
Gardner Johnson had a couple key plays.
Mm-hmm.
Slay played, up to his part. The rookie, Michael, played well as well. So to me, the defense definitely held down their end of the bargain with the push up front, the linebackers getting to where they need to get to, and the safeties taking care of business. The coaching, though, how do you can we touch on the coaching? Do we feel like Sirianni's kind of lost his way?
Geez.
Do we feel like he's okay? Like what?
Yeah, I think I was texting you this during the game, but I was okay with all of the 4th down calls except for the one right before half.
I hated that.
I would have gone for the field goal at that point.
Okay.
Though I don't hate the call. Like, people are hating on that he got too cute with the
outside tush push run to the other side.
But if you think about it strategically, if you're going to go for it, why go for the tush push? There's 13 seconds left, and they had one timeout. So what are you going to do? You're going to do the tush push, get 1 yard, and then have to take a timeout and then take one shot to the end zone before the field goal?
It's
low
probability. It's
that
low
call
probability.
was to try to get a big yardage so that you have a chance to score on the next. And I think I heard today that they lined up wrong or something happened on that.
No, they said that, and multiple people, or at least 2 people I heard say that out of the locker room, said the alignment on that play wasn't correct. So that's why it wasn't executed correctly.
If you watch it, Goddard, they snap the ball, Goddard looks back, he's like, oh, and then starts to go, and the linebacker's already there, and it's just
it was a
got
mess.
blown up.
It was a mess.
Yeah.
But to me, coach needs to just get out of his own way a little bit. Just get out of his own way a little bit. It just doesn't make sense. I know what the analytics chart says, okay? But can't you use your gut? Are we in an age where it's, look, what the sheet says, I got to do what the sheet says?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why it's there.
Yo, yeah.
I know.
Yo, throw the sheet in the garbage, all right? I want to throw the analytics sheet.
I don't know about his sheet, but
it has a little guy
that I follow. It's that's why you have it. You either go with it or you don't. The old school football people will be like, you need to go with your gut.
Okay.
And what that's what you used to do. But the sheet is there so that you're
make an educated
yes,
choice.
It's all about it's all about your the chances or probability that you win the game. That's all it's based on. So you look at how much does this decision impact my win probability.
Right. So the old win probability. If I hear that term one more time, I'm gonna run outside. Yeah. I'm joking, but no, I hear what you're saying. Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I just to me, when you look at his face on the sideline, okay,
that's a whole different. That's a whole different.
Like, wipe that face off, man. Like, fix that face.
Yeah,
come on.
It's a whole different conversation. He when we talked about this last year about how the players just like got tired of the antics on the sideline and like he's yelling at everybody, and I mean he doesn't have much to do these days. He throws challenges, he calls timeouts, and then apparently he did call that play.
Which one?
The tush push fake end around thing.
Oh, that was his.
That was his call. Apparently,
so we doubled down on that. He's like, "That's my all right."
Yeah.
Okay.
Which brings up like, how often is he inserting himself into the play calling?
When he has an offensive coordinator that's there to do that job,
who has been doing a pretty good job, I'd say.
That's true.
With game planning.
That's true.
So, yeah, it's a small sample size.
3 weeks.
They've been playing really close games, and that's where these things get magnified, because they have to make these tough decisions, and you could say maybe they wouldn't be in this position with those close games had he made a different decision, but
they could be 3-0.
They could be 3-0,
but we're not going to dwell on that.
No, that's what I said. I said that
it
in
is
my
what
post,
it is at this point.
In my post game post, I just said they're a Saquon catch away from being 3-0. Both were kind of a little fluky with, they had a good game plan, but you don't win very often in the NFL when you give the ball away like they did against New Orleans and then get into their territory and then don't score.
No.
They had 5 straight possessions getting into New Orleans territory and not
executing
points.
And not getting any points. And that's, I think, was the maddening thing. That was, if you watched any kind of social media or like had any kind of friends during that game, so many people were at like, yo, I'm about to literally just jump off. Yeah. And I'm just like, you can't jump off because, for one, the defense was playing out of their mind. Saquon had a sick run up the middle if we can transition to the offense. Yeah. Goddard played out of his mind as well. And, yes, Hurts did the turnover machine thing again. But what we have to understand is that when the key moments really mattered in that game, Smith made a catch, Goddard made a catch, and, somebody called that inside zone play for Saquon to run up the middle. Yeah. So, like, how do we feel about how the offense, like, operated on Sunday?
Well, obviously,
besides the turnover
besides
machine.
The turnovers. Well, the first turnover, I agreed with Olsen when he said that Devontae needed to do a better job
of
getting in front of Matthew.
Right.
Like, Matthew, though, is watching the backfield. He's keying on Jalen. As soon as Jalen is looking at Devontae and pulling his arm up, he dove for the –
No, he did.
He beat Devontae to the ball.
Well, Devontae put his foot in the ground, and by the time he did that, Matthew was like, I'm taking this ball. So,
like, a bigger guy like Goddard would have been able to shield Matthew off.
Right.
Devontae's, he's not A.J. Brown. He's not Dallas Goedert. So it was harder for him. So I don't completely blame Jalen for that thing. The fumble obviously was terrible.
The fumble was terrible. Just hold on to the ball, man.
He looked like Carson Wentz out there.
Oh, don't say that. Yikes. Come on, now you're gonna have everybody tune out. Carson. I'm joking. But offense took care of business. Defense definitely held down the fort, and the coach needs to just get out of his own way. Yeah. If we can, who do we have on the schedule this week?
Tampa
again. Flying down to Tampa.
Feels like they've played Tampa how many times?
Embarrassing playoff loss last season, but the wheels had fallen off at that point when they played that game in Tampa. Yeah. Is this a different Eagles squad? Is this a more mature Eagles squad? What do you think they do going down to Tampa this week?
Just the injuries are the problem. You got Devontae out. You got AJ out. I mean, you're really surviving with Goddard and Saquon at this point. You don't really know what you have in Jahan Dotson yet. He had a couple catches because he had to, because Devontae went out. And I mean, if we go back to that for a second, when Devontae goes out, you're like, how are they gonna do this?
How are they gonna actually
no receivers? That Jalen trusts
now. And I think Olsen touched on this where he said, like, the thing is about Jalen Hurts, he has to have like a literal relationship with you.
Yeah.
And because it's not that he won't throw you the ball, but he doesn't trust you to throw you the ball. So this week is going to be interesting. Who they got? Paris Campbell, Dotson, Goddard, Johnny Wilson, who he's a big target. He had one catch.
Yeah.
He had one catch. So to me, I think, oh goodness, I'm gonna say they find a way to win the game because how the defense played against the Saints.
Yeah.
If they can show up on the defensive line, get some turnovers, rattle Baker like he was rattled in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, the Tampa offensive line is in shambles. Their right tackle, I believe, went down in week 1, and then Aiden Hutchinson had a big game against the backup in week 2, and then, you know, they gave up 7 sacks last week to Denver.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So there's, you know, there's an opportunity there. But I feel like every time we say that, they come up small.
They lay the egg. They lay that bird egg on a Sunday that makes you pull your hair out.
Yeah. But yeah, they should be able to get to Baker. Baker has, like, I was reading today, he has the highest pressure to sack ratio, meaning when he gets pressured, he gets sacked.
Okay.
And he's getting pressured more than anybody except for Will Levis in Tennessee.
Right. And Will Levis is playing horribly.
Terribly, yeah.
All right.
But
so
he doesn't have any help on the offensive line, but yeah. So Carter should have a really big game like he did. I could see Davis having one as well. We need to get Sweat going. I feel like we haven't heard his name very much.
I would like to see Sweat going. Now, is there anyone on Tampa's side of the ball where if Baker's comfortable and we have a letdown per se that you're worried about on Tampa's side? They still got
Godwin and Evans practiced today, so he's in line to play.
Right.
So they still got those two guys on the outside, and
the last time we went to Tampa wasn't nice.
Right.
But
and they actually play Godwin a lot in the slot, which, you know, against Avonte Maddox, that could be a big matchup for them. So that's where I really want them to get Cooper in there. And I know that Fangio's been having trouble trusting him on the defense right now. But
he doesn't.
They need a bigger body there. Maddox just
doesn't.
You know, in the new NFL, like CeeDee Lamb plays in the slot. I mean, they put A.J. Brown in the slot last year a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, they're putting bigger receivers in the slot more
true.
Nowadays. It's not like it used to be with these little
Wes
good
Welker
route runners. Yeah, exactly.
Wide receiver.
Right. So Maddox just
Edelman type wide receiver.
He doesn't match up well anymore.
Right.
And he doesn't have the burst anymore with all the injuries. So, yeah, I really would like to see Cooper DeJean get in there. But yeah, we'll have to see.
We'll have to definitely
on the defensive side. I think that so one thing that the Bucs do differently from the Saints, but the same as the Falcons, is that they run out of 11 personnel quite a bit.
Right.
So that means that there's 3 wide receivers on the field, so you have to match nickel. You have to bring in that slot corner, so you're a little smaller and more susceptible to the run. That's what the Falcons do.
Yeah.
I mean, they did really well with
They
Bijan
did.
and Algier, and but what the Saints do is they run out of bigger packages, and the Eagles were able to match up well with that and stop it. So it'll be really interesting to see with running out of 11 personnel. They haven't had much success this year, but the Eagles haven't had much success stopping it out of 11 personnel.
True.
Maybe that 5 down lineman, like I was talking about earlier, will help with that. But yeah, you'll probably be able to make them one-dimensional.
If you get to Baker early, get him off his spot.
Yeah, exactly.
Have him forcing the ball in the spots that he doesn't need to force, and getting turnovers.
Right.
To me, that's going to be the key, and hopefully Sirianni can get out of his own way. Is what I hope.
Yeah.
Because it's the first time in a long time that an Eagle team is like winning or has a winning record early in September, and it's like, yo, fire the coach. Is it just everybody's Sirianni exhausted and I've had enough of this? But what is the alternative? Is the alternative like we've spoke about this? Who are you gonna go get? And whoever comes in here is gonna turn it upside down again. I don't think Jeffrey doesn't want that.
Yeah.
He's not paying for upside down every 2 to 3 years. He wants consistency.
Exactly. You're not going to be able to bring somebody in who's just going to be a figurehead.
No.
Somebody who's going to be a game manager.
So,
I mean, that's what they have right now, and they have obviously the coordinators calling everything else. So, yeah, I hope that he can settle in and figure this thing out for himself.
Take the points, Coach. All right? I know what the sheets say. Take the points, man. It's 3 points. The team going to feel good.
Yeah.
You might not feel as good because the chart said I got to do this. Take the points, man. All right?
But the chart should have said kick the field goal ahead of half.
I mean, I thought that's what the chart said. I played Madden.
That's what the chart
Sorry,
that
it's
I
not
follow.
Madden. It's not a video game.
Yeah, that's the chart that I follow. Said kick the field goal.
But
yeah, I don't know. One other thing about the defense, what they did really well against the Saints was they kept their linebackers clean, and obviously
Vaughn was clean.
Carter and Davis had a lot to do with that. But we talked about after the Falcons game was that Vaughn was getting his knees cut out because the guards were able to get up to the linebacker.
True.
The linebacker line a lot easier.
Thanks.
So they cleaned that up against the Saints, and hopefully they can do the same thing because that's really the key to a Fangio defense. Is letting your linebackers make the plays, when they're
available.
Yeah. So.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say I'm taking the Birds to win this Sunday.
Do we know what the spread is?
Is it? I'm gonna tell you. No, I don't know what the spread is for informational purposes only.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's 2.5 because it's a hurricane. Is it supposed to be weather? No, I think the hurricane's supposed to be gone by Sunday in Tampa.
Yeah.
But
right now it's flooding like crazy there.
Yikes!
I saw. I mean, the ocean is like 10 feet above where it usually is.
What?
So
we're not gonna talk about the weather.
That's
though.
nuts. But yeah, hopefully it all dries out. Hopefully everybody's safe.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I'm taking the Birds. Who are you taking?
Yeah, I'm feeling good about if they play up to their potential and if the D line has a big game, then yeah, they should.
It should.
But the injuries on the offense, you're basically, like I said earlier, you're just running everything through Goddard and through Saquon.
Can I ask a question though?
Mm-hmm.
Are they if they come home 2-2 and not 3-1? Is it fire the coach? Is it panic? Because they'd be 2-2 going into a bye or 3-1. Depending on what plays out on Sunday.
It's more gray than that, I think.
Okay.
It would be if he makes an egregious mistake or something, or he's the reason why
they lost the game. Okay.
That would have to be the case for me to want to make it. I mean, it's
the sky's falling.
It's week 4.
It's still September. We got one more week of September. We're not even at the quarter point yet. Go Birds.
Right.
And we're feeling positive this week is how we're feeling.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do we want to transition to?
The Phils had a big week too.
Did the Phillies have a big week? They did. They clinched the
clinched
NL East.
Yep.
They clinched a playoff spot. And what else is on the table?
First round bye.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was huge. Like I've been talking about that the first 5 episodes of this show.
You were like, "This is what we need to do. This is what we need to do."
You don't have to play in the wild card round. I mean, you get to set up your rotation the way you want to set it up. You're probably you're going to be playing a team that played in the wild card round and possibly played 3 games, used up their 3 best pitchers.
True.
And you might be going up against the number 4 starter for one of those teams in week 1 or in game 1.
In game 1
with Wheeler on the mound. So
when is that game 1?
It would be October 5th.
All right, so that's
I believe it's Saturday.
That's what 10 days, 9 days from now? No, it's longer than that. It's like but it's that's what
it's like 9 days because I think it's a Saturday.
Okay,
it's a Saturday, Sunday of our game 1 and game 2, I believe.
So with that time off, are you concerned that the Phillies are in like relax mode? Do you think over the last 2 seasons, disappointments, do they come out super focused? Are the bats going to be?
I think they do.
Okay.
And they still have some things to play for this weekend. If LA loses tonight, then they can still get the number 1 seed.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
If they sweep Washington, which is completely possible.
That is doable. They shouldn't lay down if it's still on the table for them to get the number 1 seed. Now, who are you worried about in the playoffs?
Oh gosh,
I'm gonna say I'm not scared of nobody.
But you still think about it. Even if you're confident in the team, you're like, I'd rather avoid that team.
Okay.
For me, the number 1 seed for that would be the Padres. They're playing so well right now.
All right.
They're probably like the best or second best team in baseball right now.
Over the last 6 weeks,
they've come up small in the postseason, of course.
That's what I was gonna ask you.
Yeah.
Their postseason record. I was gonna ask you that question.
So I'm not too scared of that, but at the same time, they're just on fire. And when you saw it in 2022. The Padres remind me of 2022 Phillies.
Okay.
Because they
in,
caught fire at the end of the season and are going into the playoffs as hot as you can possibly be.
And playing quality ball.
Yeah, and they could easily come in here and upset the Phils if they're as hot as
that's
they are.
not happening.
Right.
We're not scared of nobody. Now, my team that I think I'm most concerned about would be Arizona.
Yeah.
And that's because I remember what happened last season. I'm not living in the past, but to me, Arizona has the bats. They have mediocre pitching to like not terrible, because you're not going to be terrible being in that position. But they just haven't. They've had ups and they've had downs. But Arizona, to me, knows they can come here and beat Philadelphia, and they've done it. They've done it in the regular season, and they did it last season.
Yeah.
So to me, that's the team that I would be the most concerned about.
Yeah. Now they're not currently in playoff position.
No,
because the Mets are the ones that are in the second wild card spot, and they're the ones that I'm probably second most concerned with.
Well, that would take us to like the New York Philly rivalry, where like the New York would come down.
Yeah.
Or is it no? They would come down.
They would come down for the first 2 games.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah. I think the Phillies fans wouldn't sell their tickets like the
not like
Sixers
the Knicks,
fans.
not like the Knicks Sixers. We're not in basketball mode yet, but we don't want another replay of that.
No,
that would be terrible.
It'd be a fun series between New York and it always is when it's a New York.
Well,
Philly
there's a lot of like. Sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot of trash talking. There's it's obviously the proximity between the two.
They both hate each other.
Both
teams, both cities. Well, New York has won a lot more. I got to give them that as far as championships. I got to give them that.
The Yankees?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. not the Mets.
Mets
no.
haven't done anything.
No, but New York as a between Giants, Yankees, they've won a lot more than Philadelphia. But that's neither here nor there.
I don't consider the Giants or the Jets New York teams.
Y'all get out of here. What's it say on the map?
Yeah, exactly. New Jersey.
It's New Jersey. New Jersey Giants.
Yes.
You're right.
I used to, speaking of our video games conversation,
right.
I remember one of the early football video games I played was the New Jersey. Like they didn't call them the New York.
They called them the New Jersey Giants.
The New Jersey football team or something, because they didn't have the rights to call the actual names or something.
I got you.
Anyway, Buffalo is the only real New York football team.
That's right. That's right.
If you look at a map,
it says it here.
It's always funny when they do a Giants game or Jets game and they're showing Manhattan, and you're just like,
the team is nowhere
close.
I mean,
you can only show Manhattan for Knicks and Rangers games.
That's true. That's true if you look at the map. But back to the Phils. So I'm worried about the Diamondbacks or Arizona. I think the Phillies have
Arizona. One of the other.
No, the Arizona Diamondbacks. But to me, the Phillies losing the World Series, lose to Arizona, this would be the year that you quote unquote kick the door. And if you get, and I think Thompson said it after they clinched the NL. They're like, I want that trophy. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what the city wants. No one's living in the past. You will hear those negative comments around the city. Nola gives up a home run or somebody has a bad inning. We're not going to put Taijuan Walker out there anymore. Now, does Taijuan Walker get on the field in the playoffs? Please tell me no.
Absolutely not.
Please tell me no. Okay.
Something horrible would have had to have happened.
Okay.
Like somebody gets shelled in the first inning or second inning, and they put him out there to be a long reliever or something.
All right.
I'm not sure they'll put him on the roster, to be honest.
No.
I was going through it in my head as far as who the relievers would be, who the fielders and whatever would be, but yeah, I don't know if Taiwan would actually make it.
No, I hope not. And to me, go Phils, take care of business.
Yeah.
Do the pitch. They have the pitching. They got the bats. and I feel they got the coach to do what they're supposed to do this offseason.
They got the relief. I mean, the bullpen, like we've been talking about, is really the key. They've been doing really well. Estevez still scares the crap out of me sometimes.
That's true.
Because
inconsistent.
He's always finding the bat. Like he's always got runners on base. I mean, he throws strikes. I'm glad he doesn't walk people, but there's constantly traffic on
one either at first or second base.
Yeah. So he's playing with fire every time, and you don't really get that shutdown inning from him like you would like from your closer.
Very true.
So my confidence in him isn't as high, but Hoffman, Strom, Kerkering, Alvarado still scares me a little bit too.
That's true. He's actually
been
straightened himself out after what was it? Maybe like 3.5 weeks ago. He was in this weird stretch where you were like, "Yo, throw Alvarado in the guy." But Thompson came out and was like, "Yo, this is my guy. He's not going anywhere," and he's stuck by him, and he's kind of straightened himself out. Yeah. So I will give him credit for that. And
hopefully the starters can go 6 or 7, and then you just hand it over to the shutdown bullpen. And
I want Harper, Turner, Castellanos, Realmuto, show up for work, man. Do your job, hit the ball. Schwarber's going to – I feel the kind of season that Schwarber had shows me that, because I think last year his batting average was like a silly number, but he had a ton of home runs. Yeah. This year you can see he's hitting above like 200 or like in that range where he's getting contact. Mm-hmm. He's not trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark all the time, and he's taking what's available where he wasn't doing that last year. So Schwarber I'm not worried about. Okay. It's Turner, Castellanos, Harper going, cold, which I'm going to say that's not going to happen again is what we're going to say.
I can never guarantee anything with Castellanos. I mean, he's so streaky, but
hitting a baseball is hard. So
it is.
It's one of the hardest things to do. 300 is considered a Hall of Fame. So
and nobody hits 300 anymore.
No, but
it's all about power numbers, OPS. That's really what it's about.
Exactly,
nowadays, getting on base and hitting for power.
So. Are we anything else we want to touch on the Phils, or are we transitioning?
No. I mean, I wore the Oakland A's.
Oh, I did see that.
It's the last game of the Coliseum
last Oakland
today.
Game in the Coliseum. Okay,
yeah,
that's a nice touch. Now, who is that jersey?
Oh man,
what is it?
Because I had Pete Rose on the back last week.
We're looking at controversial athletes.
Controversial. That's the word I'm looking for.
We've got this one's pretty controversial.
Yeah,
you want.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
It was the middle of the Wild Wild West for the MLB is what you'll call it.
Back in the 90s. You might be thinking it's Mark McGwire, but it's not, because I don't think he was on the steroids in
Was he
Oakland.
using back then?
No, I don't think it was till he got to St. Louis.
I feel like all of them were using back then, man.
But
but you're probably right, because he was a twig.
Yeah.
And then he
180
went
pounds.
And then he went to
goes to St. Louis
Cardinals.
and he's like 230.
And you're like, whoa, what happened to your forearm?
And his head's humongous. You're like, okay.
And his neck is twice the size.
Exactly.
No, I got you.
It's Jose Canseco.
Oh, Mr. Bash brother. Mr. Bash brother. All right, I got you. I like the touch. I like the Oakland touch. Let's see here. So next on the menu, what are we going to do? Our most valuable hater of the week?
Yeah.
Okay. My most valuable hater this week, it kind of came across my face about sometime like in the last 24 hours. It's Cam Newton. And to me, I saw this statement and I read it a couple times, and I'm like, Cam Newton was like, yo, if Eli Manning got nominated for the Hall of Fame, that they need to nominate me twice. All right, Eli Manning, I'm not an Eli Manning fan. All right, he played for the Giants. He had 2 Super Bowls, and he beat Tom Brady twice. He made that throw to Plaxico on the side of the end zone, made that throw to Manningham down the sideline, 2 clutch game-winning plays. To me, that sounds a little bit like sour grapes to me if you're going to call him out. Like, am I crazy for saying that? That sounds like, okay. I can't understand that. Yeah. But to me, Cam, you just do better, man. I get it. Your career was you had an excellent career. I'm not, trophy at Auburn, Heisman Trophy winner.
I believe so.
Okay. Yeah. You got MVP season, the whole Superman thing. I get it. But
he was fantastic for a few years there.
But just 2 Super Bowl trophies versus Tom. Come on, man. Knock it off. Stop it.
And they had every opportunity in their Super Bowl against Denver
to win the game.
Yeah.
I mean, Peyton was playing on like a half an arm, like half a neck.
It's just a defensive struggle the whole time. It was one of the most boring.
To
Super
me,
Bowls.
the play that I remember is that fumble and him not jumping on that ball is what I remember from that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And after that, the career just kind of fluttered and went down. But come on, man, do better. You know better than that.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's gonna pain me to see Eli getting in the
get
Hall
a
of
yellow
Fame,
jacket.
But as soon as they gave Kurt Warner one, you knew Eli was gonna get one.
That's true.
I mean, they have very similar careers, up and down. You saw some crazy terrible play from Warner and from Manning.
Like turnover machine.
Yeah.
Like
but
bad.
They also won Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And
Kurt Warner only won one.
Yeah, it's true.
So you need one to be in the conversation.
Which Donovan McNabb.
You need one to be in the conversation.
I feel like if Donovan had won that one in 2004
against Tom,
he might have a better case.
He would because they would have the statue of him. Nick wouldn't have the statue. But Donovan's too controversial though in Philadelphia. Lord. Yeah. You say Donovan McNabb, Eagles fans, either want to pull their hair out or
Yeah, he was very polarizing. I don't think we knew what we had at that point.
No.
And like we said a couple weeks ago, they never put any good talent at the wide receiver position except for T.O.
1 year.
And look what he did with T.O. The rest of the time he's throwing to Thrash and Pinkston. And, obviously he had Chad Lewis catching out of the tight end position, but he wasn't.
No,
he wasn't
not the level of tight end that's playing in the NFL now, or like the level of tight end that was playing.
Right.
Well, who was back then? Tony Gonzalez was in that era. Antonio Gates was in that era.
Yeah.
Shockey.
Yeah.
So you had some good tight ends, but Eagles never had that kind of level of tight end that you were like, yo, you got a game plan for this person.
They had good running backs for him. They had Deuce Staley. They had Brian Westbrook. They then had Shady, I guess, for a year or two.
Yeah,
before
in that
he got
transition
traded.
period, yeah.
So, and that's why they were so good at the screen game, because those guys were
used
incredible.
To call that screen left, right, and center. And you knew it was coming.
I missed those days sometimes.
You knew that screen was coming. Yeah,
but they couldn't stop it.
Nah, absolutely not.
Westbrook was just so good with that screen. I wish I was sick over that Super Bowl.
That Super Bowl.
Like, if he had his C game, they probably win that game, because he was just.
Well, that's why T.O. still drags him for that game. T.O. literally to this day drags McNabb and calls him on any platform, will say it out loud like, yo, you were trash in that Super Bowl. And I played on one leg, which he did.
He did. Did you hear Belichick during Monday Night Football talking about their preparations for that Super Bowl?
No,
So he said that he got inside information, or what he thought was inside information, that T.O. was not going to play well. I mean, he was going to play,
right,
but he was going to be severely hindered
on that repaired ankle or foot.
Yeah. And then he comes out in the first quarter, he has a ton of catches and yards.
Yeah.
And then Belichick's like, what is going on? And has to completely change his game plan mid-game.
Wow.
To try to shut him down. Yeah.
Slow him down. Oh, goodness.
So,
bad memory, but.
Oh, gosh. My roommate was a Pats fan at that point. I was in college. It was the worst. That was like the worst week of my life.
I want to listen to Patriots fans.
Oh,
Patriots fans will tell you how many trophies they got. Yeah, we know.
Yeah.
Goodness. But. Yeah. So what's next on the table?
Podium this week.
Oh, okay.
We had a good one last week with the video games. We had some good feedback.
Hey, I got some comments on the Blades of Steel.
Blades of Steel.
They were like, yo, play the clip. They want a clip of Blades of Steel. We gotta find a clip of Blades of Steel. So what are we picking this week on the podium?
We're gonna talk about, with in honor of the Phillies, clinching. and they're gonna be in the playoffs. We're gonna draft all-time Phillies teams.
Okay.
So certain years of the Phillies teams, and I think we have a coin this time.
Do I? Let me see. Oh, wait a minute. I might have a coin. I do. Do I get to call it? Or
you can call it. You can call it. Make sure that there's both sides.
It's a tails on both sides. He's like, yo, you can't do that. Let me see. I call heads.
Oh.
Damn it, you won.
Tails.
I should have just picked Tails.
Yeah, I mean,
I said
double
it was
Tails.
I know, right?
Tails never fails.
You gotta.
All right, so I get the first pick.
You do. Go ahead.
I mean, where else are we going but 08?
All right.
I mean,
no, that's fine.
That's got to be the number one pick. That's got to be the number one.
It's the one that I remember the most. It's the one. Yeah, correct.
They win the World Series in my
in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I will go. I'm gonna go 93. I'm gonna go 93. Even though I remember Joe Carter and that home run and being upset, being like upset. So I'll go. I'll go that.
I love that team so much. I mean, Dutch was my favorite player.
Yeah.
But Dykstra was just nuts.
Dykstra was insane.
Those leadoff. He had a lot of leadoff home runs that year. Kruk. I mean, I had that whole lineup memorized, and I love that team. I was 8, I guess.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
So it was like formative years of baseball
fandom. When you start to really actually fall in love with sports or like sports, or even want to be watching it. So no, I know exactly what you mean by that.
So that was it was a great team. Love that. I actually did not watch the last game because I had to go to bed early or had to go to bed. So I just woke up the next morning and it was over.
Man, I don't want to talk about that. That memory seared into my. In Philadelphia sports memories, that's one that if you ask anybody, they'll be like, "Yo, where were you in?" Yeah, I remember that, and it's not a positive memory.
I remember a lot more of the NLCS.
Okay.
Clinching that against the Braves.
The Braves.
Mitch Williams.
Yeah.
That was so cool. But all right,
Who's
my second pick. I think I'm gonna go 2022 Phillies. I love that team. Obviously, like I said last week, I love Rhys Hoskins. That was just such a cool run. They caught fire at the end of the season. I got in.
Was that the bat spike?
Yes.
All right.
So that was the Rhys Hoskins bat spike against Strider.
Nice.
That was just awesome. And then
that's a clutch one.
They had their backs against the wall a few times, and the great home run by Bryce against San Diego to send him to the World Series.
World Series.
Obviously the World Series was disappointing, but everything leading up to it was just
amazing.
So much fun.
Definitely.
It came out of nowhere, really. I mean, you obviously knew that the team had talent and had the potential, but all season, they were. Obviously with Girardi starting as the manager. And then having to switch to Topper and then catching fire at the end of the season. It was just such a fun run.
The key moment that I remember in that was the game against the Cardinals, when it was like they hadn't had a hit, and it was like, was it the bottom of the 8th? Yep. They got that key hit, and I can't remember who scored the run, but that literally was like the domino effect of them just like knocking the ball out of the park and getting hits in key situations. So absolutely, that was a fun team. My second pick, I'm gonna go with the Cliff Lee against the Yankees.
2009.
Was that 09?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's
yeah.
I remember that Cliff Lee game and the excitement in the city after that game, because it was like you felt like you had New York on the ropes.
Yep.
Granted, how it played out wasn't the way you wanted it to.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm gonna take the 09 team with the Cliff Lee squad.
Oh man, that was so much fun too. Yeah. I loved he was like Ranger on the.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so nonchalant with everything.
And just strike after strike, strikeouts.
Yeah.
So
that was a fun team too.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna go with in that era. I like the 2010 team, even though they underachieved, obviously, with in the playoffs. So that's a bad taste. But with Doc and Cole Hamels, Roy Oswalt. That was just fun to watch them all
That was
season.
a lot of good pitching.
I went to the playoff opener that Doc threw the no-hitter, and that was just so much fun to watch. I mean, that last play with Brandon Phillips, like, chops it like right into the dirt, and Chooch goes out there, dives on it, and throws the first to preserve the no-hitter.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
No, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yep.
Let me think. So for my third pick, oh my goodness, I'm trying to think. The first when they got into the playoffs for the first time.
07?
Yes.
Oh, that was a good team too.
No, it was. And I remember, was it Milwaukee that they played in that first round?
Yeah, CC Sabathia.
CC Sabathia. I remember that. Yeah, that's my third choice. Was that the year that they came back on the Mets?
Yeah.
And the Mets were up like 8 games or 7 games?
They were down 7 games with 17 games to play, and they came back and won the division.
No, that's definitely my third choice. Or most fondest all-time team that I can think of. Because if you think in our lifetime, how many... I know. When
we talked about this being the topic, we're like, well, do we even have 6 to pick from?
I do. I remember Phillies baseball. One of my favorite teams, one of my favorite players, Ken Griffey Jr., and I knew that I liked the Phillies, and I knew that the Yankees, to me, like somebody that's a Yankee fan, are you really a Yankee fan or you just love the winning? Like, you know,
if you're not from the Bronx, then
okay,
no, you're not a Yankee fan.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. But no, let me stop. Who's your third
that's
pick?
it. I think that's we should our third
Okay. But to me, as growing up watching Philadelphia sports and just holding on to those, I guess, semi-championship moments or semi-good moments that you can think of, because I feel like there's a lot of negativity sometimes. There's always like, well, they did this or they did that. Can you just enjoy a moment? You know what I mean? Or is that not a thing?
You have to enjoy it because it's so few and far between. When you look at that 93 team, was the first team since the mid 80s that was any good?
Well, actually, we didn't pick one of the best teams, 1980, that won the World Series. But I was
neither of us were alive.
Yeah. So I can't claim 1980. I can only claim what was in my wheelhouse.
83, they went to the World Series against Baltimore and lost.
Yeah.
But
we were. Yeah. I wasn't even computing what baseball was.
Yeah, exactly.
At that point in time.
Yet, so yeah. I mean, the 93 team was really the first team, the first real team that was any good, and that really came out of nowhere. You really didn't think they were going to be any good. No. But then you had nothing. You had just
nothing.
Terrible.
Yeah, terrible baseball.
You had Scott Rowland and a bunch of garbage.
Terrible baseball.
I mean, especially
and they were playing in the vet.
Playing at the vet with the turf.
If you're from Philadelphia, you know the vet.
Gosh, I mean, I loved going to the vet and
I've been
watching
to the vet.
Games.
Yeah.
I think I might have said this before, but I mean, nowadays stadiums, you can see the field almost as soon as you get in the gate. You could see the field through the concourse.
Yeah.
Back at the vet, you had to, you walked in down the tunnel, and then this huge
just opened up
70,000 seat stadium just opened up right there. And you're like, wow.
Nah, I remember watching Eagles games at the vet or going to a couple of Phillies games. It was an experience. And going down to South Philadelphia is a wild,
sure was
interesting experience. Even to this day, I still love doing it, being amongst all the people and being in that kind of environment.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was certainly experience. I used to go all the time with my dad to the Spectrum, to the vet. But yeah, like we would drive the crappy car down to the because we were like, I don't really want to drive the nicer car down to the.
I don't know what might happen in South Philly. You never know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, nowadays with a lot more security and lights, and
you still got to be aware of your surroundings.
Be
aware you're surrounded.
Yeah, it's much different than it used to be. But yeah, we like I said, we didn't have a ton to pick from the choices of our lifetime of the Phillies. But I think we did a pretty good job.
I absolutely think we nailed all the topics or all the choices that were on the table.
That 07 team was underrated just because, Rollins was really confident going into that game.
Well,
he said they're the team to beat.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
Nah, because
doesn't really
that doesn't make any sense. You haven't won enough to say that. But he backed it up.
He did. He backed it up.
So
and the pitching, Brett Myers closing, that was crazy. Going to the bullpen. And Cole Hamels really that was his coming out party.
My cousin used to destroy me with Brett Myers on like MLB, dude. Yo, he knows what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like 15, 16 Ks. I'm breaking the controller.
He had that 10-6 curveball, or 12-6.
Brett Myers, that's a name right there.
Yeah, that 12-6 curveball that was just lethal. But yeah, that was really fun. I went to one of the playoff games against the Rockies where they got swept, and like Kyle Kendrick gave up a grand slam.
Yeah.
Kyle Loesch came in, and one of the two gave up a grand slam, and it was pretty horrible.
It was terrible. It's terrible.
That prepped them for the next year,
where they won the World Series.
They knew they needed a good bullpen and some more starter help. So
that's what we're hoping for this year. We want them to kick the door down, win the World Series, bring that trophy back to South Philly, man. Is what we want.
Exactly.
So
that's what everybody wants, obviously. And,
how we feeling about the rest of the? So Birds win, Phillies take care of business. We're the end of September.
Yeah, we're getting close to. I mean, the Flyers have started preseason,
right?
So we're gonna have to start talking about them a little bit.
Eagles have a bye next week.
Eagles have a bye next week. So yeah.
No. Good talking this week, Wayne. I mean, is there anything else you want to get off your chest? Is there somebody you want to scream at? Did somebody not make you annoyed this week?
I mean, obviously, I was traveling this week for work. So
Lord.
Yeah, it was.
You know what? Shout out to this man right here. He was like, "Yo, we doing this," and I was like, "Yo, we doing this."
Got an early flight home. And we're recording.
We're here doing this. So, thank you for tuning in this evening, sitting down with us. Leave a comment, leave a like. Tell us if you hate it. Tell us if you like it. You know, we want some of the energy. Please let us know.